All right, hello and welcome to InvertiCast. I am Leah from Tarantulia. As always, I have Simon from the Mantis Garden. Hello, Simon.
Hello there. How's it going?
Yay! Oh, it's good. I actually have kind of a little like cold, uh, cough kind of thing going on. So if my voice sounds kind of wonky, that's why. But thankfully, I have a voice. So,
I was struggling to hear you then, just like 5 minutes before you started. I'd have to turn it up because I couldn't hear you. I had to turn the volume up. So
oh, geez. Okay.
you're a bit croaky.
Yeah, duly noted. But yeah, no, it's this the ick is going around here in the States. I don't know about over there, but I'm sure you guys have your ick.
Oh yeah.
You know, I hate it when that happens, but
I'm waiting for my wife to lose her voice again.
is she watching? She knows you say that.
No, luckily she's got out. Like, she normally makes a cup of tea when we start and brings it up. You see, slides it in the side here,
Aw.
so I can say that I'm safe at the moment.
For now, right?
Yeah, for now, till it's over, and then I'm in trouble.
All right, so this week we are talking about a really cool topic that last time we talked about it, don't think we really gave it a lot we didn't really get into the scientific side of everything, but it is the best podcast uh, topic for this podcast, and that would be isopods, um, or the order of Isopoda. And of course, I have a couple of my personal like colonies of isopods with me, so I will show you guys that here. Let me get them com- configured and you know but this
I
okay.
didn't bother dragging any. I got like 70 species here, and I didn't bother dragging any down because I thought you'd never see them.
They are
Never.
very small, obviously. I mean, at least these species are small, and we're going to get into that. We're going to get into the
Ooh,
species of isopods and kind of um what they are, what they look like, all of that funness. Let's see, I'm going to turn this kind of wonky, sorry about that, but here these guys like to hang out underneath all this sphagnum moss I have. um I don't know if y'all can see. Let's see, but they are right there. So these are the dairy cow species, which I believe are um, I have it written
Celiobatis.
down. Yeah, they're an armadillidium.
No, they're not, I'm afraid. The
They're not.
Celiobatis dairy cow.
Oh, see, and I don't know. I feel bad that I don't know like all the scientific names.
I'm going to
Um,
forgive you anyway with that croaky throat. You like, I can really hear it now. Now you pointed it out. We should have done one on frogs, actually. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I actually used to have a job that my froggy voice when I got sick was a good thing. Um, but we won't mention that. But yeah, here we go. Here's a good kind of a good view of these little guys. They like to hide mostly. So I will talk about that. So let's talk about these guys. I took lots of notes um, about them, but unfortunately I couldn't find any um, like folklore or mythology about them, which is kind of odd because most things do have some kind of folklore. But no, I didn't find any of that. But I did find plenty of wonderful scientific information about these guys. So, isopods, like I said, are from the order Isopoda, and there is estimated to be about 10,000 species of known isopods. They're one of the most morpholo- morphologically, sorry, uh, diverse of all the crustacean groups. So these guys aren't necessarily insects; they're actually crustaceans. Um, and they range in all sorts of sizes, from like micrometers. to about a half meter in length. They live pretty much everywhere on Earth. I don't know if we've actually found any on Antarctica, but I wouldn't be surprised because these guys are just that adaptable. Um, but they definitely also live in the deep sea. So another really cool, interesting thing about these guys. But it also kind of makes sense because they're crustaceans, and uh, we can definitely do an episode about crustaceans and exactly what that means. But they're actually essentially like related to lobsters and crabs, um, and those kinds of critters. So fascinating stuff. Um, let's see. So I found a lot about their anatomy, and I'm trying to find a little guy here that I can get out of this colony to.
Show a lung, I should imagine.
Yes, because
Or two, or
they're
three, or four.
yeah, hopefully, right?
But
We'll just
they all have different amounts of lungs. Or they're not actually lungs.
they don't actually have lungs. They have what are called pseudo.
Pleopodal gills.
Huh? Yeah.
Pleopodal gills.
Yes, exactly. And pseudotrachea. So,
Right.
being that they are so small, I don't think I'm going to be able to show you like exactly what that looks like. But
I
um,
I might
you
be
can.
able to do that. I got the largest terrestrial isopod here.
Oh, cool.
Um, so I might be able to get one down in a bit and see if I can find its lungs.
Or oh, that would
I don't
be
want to go
really
closer,
really
but I
cool.
can try.
Yeah, like I wouldn't even know what to look like
The,
for for.
just a white. It looks like if you've got four, it looks like white chevrons on the rear end, shall we
Oh,
say?
interesting. Okay. Okay, good to know.
If you ever
So,
see them on moss, damp moss, and they'll put the back on there, they're actually breathing. They're
oh
picking up
wow,
from the moss, which helps
that's
them.
that's amazing because the ones that live in the oceans, they actually do also breathe, but it's like a gas exchange, and they
Mm.
use their pleopods for that. So they have a specific organ that allows them to do a gas exchange while they're underwater. Um, but same with the land dwelling guys, they actually can do the same thing. So even if they do find their way into someplace that's really really wet or just full of water, they can still do a gas exchange and be just fine, which is really fascinating. Um, I think, dude, isopods are pretty amazing. I love them, and I'm gonna show you guys my favorite species that I have um, in my personal collection here, which is the Cubaris species Panda King. These guys are really, really cute. And I think that's probably what draws people to isopods to begin with, lately, maybe, is that they are just so cute. But they're also really interesting creatures. Let's see if I can get, here we go, maybe a decent, oh, okay, that works. Me and my crazy angles. But anyhow, these guys are the Panda Kings, and they're really, really cool because they look like little tiny pandas if pandas were bugs. So let's see, let me see if I can grab one. These guys are also, they can roll into little balls, just like this little guy has, but, and then they open right back up and he's at it
Congregation.
again. Yeah, but you can see the coloration on him.
No, conglobation. That means if the conglobate is rolling up into a ball.
Yeah, globalization is, I found the term to be globalization, but I think the
Yeah, it's conglobate. Yeah, yeah.
well, that's awesome. So yeah, so this is what the little Panda King guys look like. And I really like them. They're really cool. and as you can see, they can stick to you, like you can turn them upside down. So yeah, really cool part of these. I think I dropped it. That's okay. Hopefully you guys can kind of see my little colony here. There's quite a few. They're all in here. But okay. So what makes an isopod an isopod? You might be asking. So all isopods have two pairs of antennae, compound eyes, and four sets of jaws. So if we were to essentially look at their little faces really, really, really close up, they're actually a lot scarier looking than what we think, because we just see, these cute little pill bugs, and we think, oh, they're adorable, but microscopically they are terrifying. So there's that. um, I mean, four pairs of jaws. That's just, it sounds amazing. Their body is called the perion, and it consists of 7 segments and a short abdominal section with 6 segments called pleons. And each pleon has a set of biramous limbs, or basically bipedal limbs, called pleopods. And they use those for swimming and breathing and moving around, essentially. Half of the known species of isopods actually live in the ocean. So, of all the species of isopods that we have here on land, like these little guys that we could breed and have, only half of these creatures live on land, essentially. So, and of course, it's the oceans. We've only explored 5%. Which means that there's probably a ton more species of isopods that we haven't even discovered or learned about yet.
We've only identified there's around 500 in freshwater as well.
Oh, see, and that's why I keep you around, Simon. Just kidding.
There's approximately 4,500 in the sea, marine, and 500 freshwater.
Yeah.
And just over 5,000 identified terrestrial ones. This is the big thing, is the identified part of this, because they've discovered more than that.
Oh yeah, but they had probably
officially written it down in a book to say that's what we're going to call it. So yeah, that's the other thing. The ones you've got there now, panda kings.
Yeah.
Panda kings is not the proper name.
No, it's not. They're not described.
It's because there isn't a proper name. It's just Cubaris, something's going to be done in the future. So let's call them panda kings. And that's. I find this an interesting thing, because I find it becoming a bit of a problem because of the hobby. People are starting to morph isopods, and we haven't even got a name yet for them. And people are getting used to this, getting this habit going of calling things by a common name.
Right.
And when you do get a proper name, it's going to be a real struggle to remember what it is. It's going to be like, what's that again?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, anyway, sorry, carry on.
No, you're fine. I Simon, I love your input. I appreciate it so much. But yeah,
you do tangents normally.
They're wonderful. But I totally agree with you. I think that happened with tarantulas as well.
Yeah.
And that's also kind of what caused that big old confusion with the Chilobrachys natanicarum, which formerly was known as the Chilobrachys species electric blue. And it finally was described, and all these people were like, oh, it's a newly discovered. And it's like, no, they finally wrote it down. They finally just studied it. It's been discovered since like the late 1800s.
There's a lot of animals and bugs to get round to, I suppose, but they're not very quick at doing it, are they? It's you've got to be fair there. They're a bit on the slow side at pulling the finger out and saying, yeah, let's do 10 this week. It's like, let's do 1 over 4 years. That's more of their view on it. I know they have to, dissect,
Oh yeah, I mean,
check
I,
out absolutely everything.
I think it's because there's just not enough entomologists or arachnologists or something. I don't know what the problem is, but
It's money. It's money.
yeah,
All
makes
this,
sense.
like this research and everything else needs funding. Back in the day when people were finding things and naming things willy nilly, it was normally, if you look back to people like Darwin and Linnaeus and that, they all had family money and they paid for it. They paid for everything. They paid for the travel. They paid for collecting. They paid for the time. They paid for the research. Whereas now, everything's done in universities. We only trust people if you've got a PhD. So if you haven't, you can't write a paper. Nobody's going to pay attention to you. And I think that's extremely wrong because I've read so many papers and it's been wrong.
Yeah, well, it's so elitist, kind of like it's because here in the
crazy mentality that they've got. It's stupidity. When it
it's awful.
Like dissecting things under a microscope, fair enough. Carry on, you do that. But the other stuff, pretty much anybody with a magnifying glass can identify something, and count bits. It's just really irritating when they stamp their feet and say, "No, you've not been to university or haven't got a degree in entomology or mycology or whatever it is," and that's it. You can't do it. That's so unfair.
Right. No, I definitely agree. I mean, I think it was a little easier for Darwin because there wasn't a such thing as that. Like it wasn't really known. Do you know what I mean? Like the whole university thing, they had universities, but universities weren't the same as they are now. And now that like that whole spectrum of things has changed. Oh, here comes my menace. Sorry, but that whole spectrum of like the universities and titles and doctrines and all of that like has changed so much that a peer reviewed paper literally means that it came like you said from those universities that that's how you get that recognition, which I also agree that that's not super fair to folks like us who we really do care about the inverts, but I don't know about you, but I can't afford a university degree anymore. I could once, I can't no more.
I did actually look into it for this reason.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, I'm just too old. You know what I mean? I'll just enjoy them. I'll do my own research, and that's it.
Yeah. Fortunately for me, to become an arachnologist actually doesn't require a degree from a university. I mean, it helps to have like a biology degree or like an entomology or whatever. But essentially, because I looked it up, essentially to be an arachnologist, you just need to know your stuff and have some experience with arachnids. So, yeah, just that experience and having a good vast of knowledge, reading lots and lots of arachnid books, and that's kind of where that goes. So technically, if I really wanted to, I could call myself an arachnologist, but I don't because I'm still learning. Like I'm always learning. So
are they. If that makes you feel better.
Exactly.
They don't know everything. Nobody's an expert.
No one knows anything for sure. I agree.
I've got to say one thing. Some of the dumbest people I've ever met in my life have been teachers and students and university lecturers. Some of the dumbest people ever. You know what I mean? So there's always hope for everybody else.
Well, there's something to be said. Something to be said about book smarts versus common sense smarts or street smarts. I think I'm one of those very lucky people that I am talented at both. So I don't know. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Okay. So isopods are interesting. They actually play a really important role in soil and keeping the soil and like the dirt and the ground basically fertile. And same with the oceans. They also play a role in the oceans as to keeping the water and the ground underwater and stuff basically clean of like fungus and uh, like rotting carcasses and debris and that kind of thing. Because that's what they eat. They eat algae, plant, and animal fungal material on land, which is known as taxons. So that's what they do. And then they are also um, prey items for like larger inverts, like spiders, centipedes, stuff like that. Birds, I believe.
I just don't like them.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I don't
they're
like
not
them. Just throw them away.
they're not the best source of nutrition for any of them, but they do play a little bit of nutritional like value for some animals. And then the marine isopods eat algae, diatoms, live vegetation, wood, and dead animal flesh. So that's pretty fascinating. So they're basically um, a lot of people in like the tarantula hobby, or I know some people in the reptile hobby will use isopods and springtails together as what they call a cleanup crew. Um, but I gotta say that if you're only using isopods and springtails and you're not bringing in the other cleanup crews like dung beetles or millipedes, like earthworms and stuff, then you're really doing a disservice to your bioactive because uh, that's not. You're only going to get like half of the picture, if you will. Um, so that's interesting stuff. But well, that's a whole nother topic. That's a whole nother thing. And I actually believe that there's a whole nother podcast that talks all about bioactive.
If it wasn't for isopods, I think we'd all have a lot more disease around.
Oh, absolutely.
We'd be able to appear in dead leaves. So, yeah, always thank the isopods.
Yeah, I mean,
they're getting rid of all the you look at autumn, the leaves all come down in the forest. And when it gets to spring, they've all vanished. You see these little skeletons. That's isopods eating them and millipedes. So, they just pile up on each other or rot. And same with the dead carcasses and the other things that they eat. Because they eat poop as well. So, animal poop. Yep. So, you have a lot of that hanging around.
They do, yeah. No, it's I'm actually, yeah, it's a grateful thing for sure that they exist and that's what they do. Because
very really important species to the ecosystem everywhere throughout the world.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so another cool thing about isopods is that they have a lot of nicknames. So those of us in the hobby, and love inverts and stuff, we know them as isopods. But in all actuality, they have all sorts of names. Like here in the States, they're called pill bugs or rollie pollies, woodlouse, all sorts of sow bugs, stuff like that. And I know that in the UK, there are a few really, really interesting nicknames. Would you care to enlighten us on some of those names?
We've got, in England alone, this is without Scotland, Ireland, Wales, we've got over 300 names for isopods in different localities. I grew up calling them woodlice.
Woodlice, yeah.
Which is standard because that's exactly what they are.
Yeah.
My mum said that's a woodlouse, so yeah, this is a woodlouse forever. But if you go down the road, they're chickywigs. Yeah, it's like, how'd you come up with that?
What is a chickywig?
Chickywig, yeah.
Yeah.
Bumble Bobby, and there's so many of them. And now you put me on the spot, I can't think of any. I never really heard the term pill bug until I started keeping them. Because as a kid, we never called them pill bugs or sow bugs. It was just all woodlice.
Yeah, I think for me, like when I was a kid growing up, I mean, we only called them rollie polies. So that again, that term pill bug was, I learned that later, doing research and stuff and being a part of a hobby. A lot of people do call them pill bugs, and
Yeah.
I was like, what are you talking about pill bugs? Like, what is that? And come to find out, I'm calling them rollie polies, because that's what they are.
You get some weird questions. I mean, I do obviously because I sell them, so I get some weird stuff. Like, what kind of chicky wigs have you got, for instance? Like what? because
Chicky wig.
I haven't heard all 300. You know what I'm saying? There's still a lot out there that I have no idea what they are, and it's just these silly little localized nicknames.
Hmm.
I think Norfolk has about 5 or 6 different names for them in that alone. And they're all dotted around the country in all these different weird, strange, and wonderful names. I did a video on Isopods a while back, and I listed about 20 or 30 of them, scrolled up the screen, that I thought was like most interesting. But as I never use them day to day, and I've only read them once, I can't really answer you. There was a paper on it, actually.
Really?
With list that because we have we have that many nicknames for them. They found it so interesting it was worth visiting the entire UK and then writing down what people called icepods. So
that's so fascinating. Like I love that there's just so many nicknames for one little thing, and it just goes to show that they are, like I said, they're incredibly diverse. They're adaptive. They live everywhere on Earth. Like there's not a place you can go that you won't find a pill bug. Um, and they're or a roly poly or an isopod. You know, uh,
do you know what isopod means?
Say what?
Do you know what isopod means?
No, I don't actually. That is one thing I didn't.
Greek for equal.
Equal.
Equal. So poda, feet. So equal footed.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So that's what it means. Isopod, equal footed. So you've got the 2 Greek areas, not Latin for a change.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So that's what it means. I just thought that was a QI thing. So it was equal feet. That's what it means.
Wonderful. Oh, thanks, Simon. I appreciate that because I was wondering too. I was like, why can't I find the root language of isopod or isopoda? And sure enough,
this is why we have to do a podcast on Latin and Greek.
Yes, we do.
You're gonna love that one though.
Oh, I mean, yeah, like the language behind invertebrates is fascinating all on its own. So I definitely agree. I think an episode is due for that. Yeah. So
a lot of them you can split them up. I'm just looking at I can't see any. I've got 2 lights here. I can't see them. I can just see boxes with labels. I can't see the labels anyway. But yeah. Off the top of my head, I mean, there's like loads of like Amygdalidium maculatum, for instance, which is
right.
Everybody calls that a zebra.
The zebra isopod.
That's another one that annoys me because everybody calls it a zebra. Even I do it. I found myself doing it. I've talked to that many customers who want them. I found it impractical now to say maculatum.
Yeah, because they won't know.
Because they have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put it on the label when I send it, So they actually do have the proper name, but nobody seems to know half of them. And really, I think isopods are really one of the easiest to learn.
Absolutely.
They've all got self-explanatory names, and they're really easy to learn.
Right.
Say and easy to learn. Unlike mantis and spiders and stuff that are like tongue twisters. With these guys, whoever's in charge of naming them all is doing a good job because
keeping them simple.
I can just read them and go, oh yeah, that's such thing. And I can work it out as well because with doing the Latin and Greek sort of thing, I can split it up and I know what it actually means. So I just see a name, which was confusing actually with maculatum because maculatum means two spotted, which is a bit odd because they're stripy. But there you go. Well, is that a question?
No, it's Bud Corner UK. Well, Jason wants to say hello, Simon.
Oh, hello, Jay. I can't see the chat, mate, so I don't say hello.
I can definitely see the chat because, Lily was also saying that you can't see the screen, and so I think there was a little bit of controversy there that So I decided, okay, well I can highlight that. No worries.
I can't see it anyway. I don't know what it says, but if anybody's got any questions about isopods, then now is the time to type them in. And if you're
absolutely.
Hard luck. It's your own fault. You should have come to YouTube and subscribe so we get some more people on YouTube.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the YouTube. I don't know. I think a lot of people really enjoy, listening to the podcast once it's all produced and edited. Because I do kind of go through and like edit and break down the stuff and sometimes we have little moments of like just silence or dead space, so I cut that out, so I make it a little more like commercial, if you will.
I don't talk enough.
Yes, you talk. Well, you know what? Honestly, we both could talk more. So
if you just said like, here's the touch paper, I could just waffle on about all sorts. Like never ever stop, and you would never ever be able to edit it.
Oh, I know. I'm the same way. I did actually find some really cool, like interesting thing about isopods. A specific species known as the Blathinomus. And then the specific one is the Blathinomus giganteus, which is a huge isopod that, it gets like 14 inches, so that's a foot plus some. And it lives this one specifically lives in the Caribbean Sea. And scientists obviously think that the gigantism of certain species, like once they live in that deep sea, it's an adaptation to the extreme pressures of the deep ocean, essentially. So I mean, there was a huge controversy last year about the submarine that went down to go check out Titanic, and the Titanic basically crash site, like where it eventually ended up underwater. And so at that depth, which it was, I believe it was like a mile and a half down. It wasn't even that deep. Like where the Mariana Trench is close to 6 or 7 miles. It's 6 miles, right? It's like 6 miles deep down. So, and I forget exactly the feet or like the kilometers, but it's a lot. It's like 13,000 some odd. Oh no, it's a lot more than that. It's crazy amount of feet. But in any case, once you get like a mile down, okay, we're talking 5280. That's 5280 feet. That's 1 mile down. That's where the pressure really starts to kind of get intense. We can still manage to get a little deeper, but if you go much deeper than that, that pressure is just too much. And the interesting thing about the Mariana Trench as well is that no human has been in a manned like submarine that has been able to go all the way to the bottom. It's been an unmanned submarine, so they've been able to send little like robotic machines down. And I'm not sure if it got all the way down, but they've been able to send them down. But if there was a human being in that little machine, it wouldn't make it. Like there's just no way because the pressure is that intense. So, scientifically speaking, that's why the Blathinomus giganteus is as big as it is, 14 inches of isopod, because that's that adaptation to be able to withstand that pressure.
350 milli for everybody else.
Wait, what?
350 millimeters for everybody else. 14 inch.
There it is. Yeah. There you go. So
I only said that because you said a lot of people listen in Indonesia. So if you'd have gone 14 inch, they'll all have to get the little phones out and start finding out what on earth that is. So
I know, right? I have to
350 millimeters or 35 centimeters. Yeah, 14 inch.
Yes. Thank you for that. Thank you so much, Simon. See, and this is why I love our podcast so much, is because you give us the kilometers and the meters, and I bring the US stuff, and that's perfect. We bring it all. We've got it all. We've got it all, guys.
Got it covered.
I also wanted to talk about the fact that a lot of the marine species of isopods are parasitic. And so there's a few species of fish that, they will essentially attach underneath the gills to the fish. So the isopod will attach to the fish underneath the fish's gills. And yeah, exactly. And then so they're parasitic. And I also had to kind of dig for the information as to the oldest fossil ever recorded of an isopod.
About 300 million years old, but there is one that actually lives on a fish's tongue as well, which is disgusting.
It's so gross.
It hooks itself onto the tongue and stays there for life.
Yeah.
Free food, though. I mean, come on, it's smart. It's smart.
I think that's why it does that.
Yeah, that's why everything does what it does, isn't it? It's all about food.
It's all about food and survival. Yeah, absolutely.
Food and sex, basically everything and every creature. Food and sex. They're the only two reasons why they do what they do.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, the bug world says hello. Billy is here. Well, hello, Billy. Welcome to InvertiCast.
Hello, whoever that was. I'm struggling to hear her. Am I bright white now? Because the sun has just decided to come right up. It's cloudy all day, and then all of a sudden I can't see a thing. I have to put lights on, and now I can't see a thing. The sun's just beaming through this window in my face now. So,
goodness. Okay, so the oldest recorded fossil is 168 million years old. And it's actually of the parasitic form of isopods. So we can deduct from that bit of information that the parasitic form of isopods was the first like evolution of them. And then the ones that we get on land and stuff are kind of the secondary. They came later.
There's some awesome ones on land, though. I mean,
yeah.
The marine ones are interesting, but I get a bit bored of them. They're all a bit samey, and they're not. I think it's because you can't have them in a box, and see them and grow them and breed them and all the rest of the things. They're a bit, all right, but
yeah, right.
The terrestrial ones are fantastic. I mean, because they're an excellent starter if you just want to get into bugs, for instance. Isopods are brilliant for that.
They're fantastic. Yeah.
There's a price range, isn't there? There's a price range from like next to nothing, a few pounds or a few dollars,
sure,
for some species, right up to like ridiculous amounts. There's some absolutely ridiculous amounts of expensive isopods.
Yeah, well, that's a.
You want to see? Oh, I wonder if I can look after this bug. If
well, that's a perfect.
Even get them out of your garden. I don't advise that because they're harder to keep than the ones you buy, because they're used to a certain environment, and you take them out of there, put them in another one. Yeah, it's a mixed bag of results you're going to get. So I'd suggest you buy them off somebody who's breeding them.
Actually go to reputable breeders. Absolutely.
Yeah, like me, for instance, come and buy them from me. All of them.
Yes.
I'm all. No. just like yourself, a breeder who's got some, take yourself up a little box, ask a lot of questions, ask a lot of people who's into the hobby, ask them the questions, ask the person you're buying them off the questions. Do a little bit of research.
Right. Because, a reputable breeder, they're going to be able to answer your questions without any kind of hesitation. You know what I mean? And that brings us to...
Sorry, am I over talking you again?
No, you're all right.
I don't know when you're starting to talk, you see. I normally shut up when I can hear you starting to talk, but I can hardly hear you today. If the best person to ask is the person you buy them off, and the best way to ask them is ask them how they keep theirs. Because if they have got enough to sell, that means they're doing it right.
Right.
Rather than ask somebody or look at YouTube or another hobbyist, ask the person who's selling it. They're doing it right because they've got enough to sell. That
is really great information and actually the best advice I think I've ever heard as far for breeders. And that goes for tarantulas. That could go for mantises, not just isopods. I agree. Like if they've got enough of them to sell, then they're doing something right because they've got a few. So, which also brings us to a really cool segue when you were talking about price points and like keeping isopods to my list of the 5 like best isopods or best isopods to kind of start with or to look for, or you know what I mean. So if you're looking to get into isopods, these are the 5 species.
Before you start, because you've got no idea what I'm thinking here. I've got my top 5 in my head.
Okay, well we can.
So I want to start. I'll let you do your list.
Okay.
And I'll just say yes if it's on my list somewhere in my top 5.
Sounds perfect. So so I'm going to go from 1 to 5. The first few are going to be like the easier species to keep, and then the last couple are going to be the more challenging. And so yeah, we'll see if you. Yeah, this is a good idea. Okay, so my number 1 like easiest species to keep, best beginner species overall it was kind of a mix between the Armadillodon maculatum and the dairy cow. So both of those two. So the zebras and the dairy cows, I felt like those were the 2 that are like the best, absolute best beginners because they're super active. They're cute. They're like black and white. You know, they will breed quickly. So you'll have a colony that's large within 2 months or so. Which again is another really nice benefit of these guys. So what do you think, Simon? Is that a yes?
That's a yes, especially the dairy cows, yes.
Spot
on. I would have gone for maculatum, that would have been my number 2, but
okay.
You've squeezed 2 into 1, so yeah, go on then. Yeah, I'm up for that.
All right, so my number 2 is the lava isopod or the Porcellio scaber. These guys are a mottled black and a dark orange color. Again, they're pretty active. They don't need a ton, but they do have a slightly different body shape than the dairy cows and the zebras. They're very pretty to look at, and they don't take a whole lot of time to produce that colony. So what is it, about 2 to 3 months, and you should have a very active colony so long as you're doing the right things. Yeah. What is that a yes?
That's a yes. Any Porcellio scaber, any of the morphs, really.
Awesome.
So you've got ghosts, you've got moo cows, which is probably one you've not heard of, I don't think. It's the same as the dairy cow, but it's the scaber instead of the lavis. Well, they're quite easy.
Okay.
Yeah, ghosts. I'd have to look up, you think, here because I can't remember them all. But yeah, any Porcellio scaber is another excellent starter because they're really easy. They do like protein more than the Armadillidium species. So if you're going to keep them, the odd dead cricket is, or roach or mantis in my case, or anything else. makes the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so my number 3. Now, these guys are a little more challenging for most people, but they weren't quite as challenging for me as I thought they were going to be, so that's why I put them at number 3. This would be the Cubaris species panda king. These guys are super, like I showed you them earlier in the podcast. They are super cute. They're colored like a panda, so they have their front end is that black, and then they've got the middle portion that's white, and then the end portion of their bodies is black. So they definitely look like little pandas. Um, they do take some time to breed, so if you get like a culture of about 10 or so of them, it's going to take at least 3 to 4 months or so before you start to see a lot of them coming around. So you do have to be a little patient with them, but they are super active. They're really, really cool, and they roll into the little balls, and that's how they got that cute nickname, rollie pollies. Ooh, my dog's knocking stuff over. Sorry about that. Holy crap. Oh, pardon my French. I'm gonna have to edit that out. But yeah, so the Panda Kings, they will roll into that little famous roly-poly ball as that defense mechanism, and yeah, so that's my number 3. How's that? Is that a yes or a no, Simon?
That's yes. Panda Kings are very easy to keep, but like you said, they are slow. Yeah. I find that Panda Kings, it's my experience, how I keep them, like it a little drier than most species, and they do like a lot of calcium and provide limestone if you can. They're not too fussed about protein as much as scabers and babies, but still will eat it from now and again. But yeah, that's really good advice. Your top 5's coming along really well.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Okay, so my number 4 would be the Cubaris species rubber ducky. These guys, they're super famous in the hobby right now. Like everybody wants the rubber duckies because they're so cute. They literally look like little tiny rubber duckies. They have like kind of that black body, and then their little face and their tail is that orange or like yellow color. So yeah, super cute. They're not as easy to breed. They do take a while. And so that's going to affect their price point. I know here in the States, that's what affects the price point is how long they take to breed. So these guys are definitely going to need close to 4 to 5 months before you're going to have a really healthy, stable colony. Yeah. So how does that one?
I think they're easy.
Okay.
But I wouldn't advise them simply because of the price.
Right, that price, and that's why I put them.
If you go out and buy 10 for 100 quid, I mean, I think that's actually more than that. I think they're more expensive than that. I don't know. I don't keep any of the really expensive ones because it's just pointless. They're just a waste of space for me. I'm selling something. I want to be selling it. I don't want to be on a shelf for 3 months growing a colony.
Right.
And then sell half of it and then have to start again. So
and that's
no point in me doing it.
In the States, that's part of the fun of them is that they're so rare. So when you do see them, you got to snatch them up because again, they do take quite a long time to breed and to basically colonize. And so yeah, here in the States, it's like $150 for a culture of 10.
Yeah.
So they're pretty expensive. I was going to ask you that if they were just as expensive in the UK as they are here.
I think they're a little cheaper here.
Okay.
But you have lots of other options.
So that one's a no.
There's lots of little groups you can join and get into and meet other hobbyists that have managed to grow a colony and they want to sell some. They normally sell them a lot cheaper. Typical is about half price actually. So
okay,
that's worth it. But if you're starting out with Isopods and it's your first one, I wouldn't advise it because if you fail, it's an expensive fail.
It is.
So, whereas you're spending £3 or $5, whatever, on dairy cows for your first one. And if they all die, you've made a mistake. It's not, it's sad for the isopods, but it's not costing you an arm and a leg. So I'm going to disagree with you on that one. I would avoid them, but solely because of the price. They are easy. You are right, they are easy.
Okay, no worries. So, so the last species that I have on my list are the number 5, which I probably should have switched the rubber ducky and these guys because they're not quite as hard. But these would be the Armadillidium vulgare, also known as the Japanese magic potion isopods. These guys are so cool. They are my favorite because they're kind of this white cream color, but then they have little neon spots of like neon yellow and neon green and some black in there. So they look really pretty, but they do take at least 5 to 6 months to breed. So again, another one of those slow colonizing species. But they're really pretty, and they also are like the zebras, and they will roll up into those little balls, little roly-poly balls. But it only takes them a minute to unroll and be like, oh, hello, okay. Um, they're super. I love the Japanese magic potion, but they are a challenging species, just for the fact that they take a long time to breed, essentially. But I would bet you would.
I agree with the vulgars. All the vulgars are an easy species to keep, but there are what people don't understand when they see vulgar, because we don't, because we're too far north, believe it or not. I haven't got vulgars in my garden.
Oh,
but
no.
If you drive 60 miles south of me, that's when the vulgars start in people's gardens. But then them ones, and the ones you're talking about, magic potions, have different requirements.
Yeah.
And people, you can't keep them all the same. This is something I keep trying to drum with people with isopods. People keep them all the same. They say, keep it like isopods, like the millipedes, etc. And that seems to be a misconception that people have, that you just keep them all the same.
Right.
You don't keep them all the same. They don't all like the same food. Some prefer more this, more that. Magic potions, a little higher humidity, a little warmer temperatures than, say, my vulgars. I would love to say in my garden, but not in my garden. And then you've got versicolors. I've got St. Lucia, so they're like a little warmer as well. I have about 5 different vulgars on my shelf there, but unfortunately I can't see them and can't remember them either. But yeah, there's loads of different versicolor vulgar. They are very, very easy to keep, but make sure you find out where they come from, and again, ask the person who sold them to you
how they keep them. Absolutely.
That's the best way you can do it, is by copying their successful method to the letter. And that's it, really.
So the breeder that I went to, which we interviewed them actually a while ago, Rubber Ducky Isopods, that's their company name. They are absolutely wonderful people, and I get all of my isopods from them. And they say exactly the same thing as you, Simon. Gotta, some species are gonna like it a little more humid. Some species are gonna like, higher temperatures. Some are more protein. They need more protein in their diet, whereas others are gonna need more calcium. So definitely, do a little bit of that research, as always with any invert that you're planning on getting. Got to do that due diligence. But isopods are absolutely an amazing way to get, if it's your first time in the invert hobby and stuff, these guys are a really great place to start, just because they are pretty easy. Like they're not super challenging. Typically, if you have, like a bin with your soil and your substrate, You put some sphagnum moss, maybe some dead leaf litter, a couple of like driftwood pieces that maybe you've sterilized or whatever. Keep one side more moist than another. So like one side is always dry, and then one side is moist. So, and of course, depending on the species, that'll depend on your moisture. But typically, that is all you need for a successful colony. Then you check on them once a week, make sure there's enough moisture, give them the food that they need, and then leave them alone for another 7 days. And in no time, you'll have a really great functioning colony. Um, but that's about the end of the podcast. We're at the point where we do our shameless plug. So, Simon, what you got? What you got going on this week?
Well, I haven't really done much on the channel for a while.
Oh, me neither.
Now and again, I'll pop up and do something, but mostly streams because it's the start of the year and it's the start of breeding everything for me and things hatching and etc. So I haven't had time to even watch half of the videos that I normally watch. I spend most of my time feeding. Like I said, we went to a show last weekend before, something like that. We did that. So again, couldn't get around to doing videos. But yeah, shop's open now. Still not put all the descriptions on my website, so I've not made it live yet. But I will be getting around to that. I haven't even done that, and that makes money. So you can imagine like my eagerness to do videos on YouTube is back there and the website's up here. So I that's really what I should be doing. I'm going to be working on the website, neck willing, and that's about it really.
Okay.
Best place to catch me is Facebook, Instagram, Discord. If you want to buy something, that's where I'll be.
Yes.
You up and ask.
Awesome. Okay. No, that's fantastic. I love it. I'm glad that it's a new season. Glad that your neck isn't too bad today. I'm super happy to see you. As always,
I'm very pleased about today. It was a subject I could have gone on for about another hour.
Yeah, right?
I actually missed doing it. I've missed doing it because obviously we had the Christmas break and New Year break. And it was both rough. So, and then it was both rough last weekend. So yeah, it's been nice to be back finally.
It just feels like life up and picked up and started just moving really fast for some reason out of nowhere. Like, hey, hang on, it's only February. Like, what's going on? Okay, so so for my shameless plug, just like you, I've kind of neglected my personal channel, Tarantulia. But that's not to say that I don't have videos that are like just needing a little tweak and peek here and there, and I'll be dropping those soon. Hopefully, I'm so done giving absolute dates because I can't keep up. I'm a lot like you. It's not my neck; it's actually my back. So I have some back issues, and good days, bad days. We push through. But obviously, subscribe and like InvertiCast. Come check us out. Check us out on all the audio streaming platforms. Usually, once this video posts, I put them all down in the description so you can find where we are. And then also, we have a Discord now. So we have a Discord server. And we also have, of course, the InvertiCast Facebook page. So if you've got burning questions, find us. We're pretty available, like all over the place. And then so for next week, we've got an amazing guest. I don't want to spoil it too much. Simon over here scoffs, but I'm actually really, really super impressed that this wonderful guest actually wants to take the time out to talk with us because they are quite busy.
Is this going to be spiders?
I don't think so.
Good. That's all right. Go on, carry on.
I mean, she has a lot of spiders like I do, but her field of study is entomology, and so She actually,
right.
she works.
That's what I discussed earlier. I thought I right about that. Yeah.
No, she's an entomologist. She's actually going for her PhD, so she is a doctor. But she works with the Colorado State University, and she also works very closely with the Butterfly Pavilion here. So, not just spiders, I can promise you that. Butterfly Pavilion, they've got it all, man. They've got it all.
I think butterflies and moths are probably my least experienced or read about, or subject in insects or in arthropods in general. I know more about tarantulas than I do butterflies and moths.
Well,
so
then
that's scary for me.
You've got a great opportunity. Then you get to pick her brain.
Yeah, I like some questions. I've got some questions.
Good. I hope so. I know I will. But in any case, so yeah, we have that guest next week. I'm really looking forward to it, and yeah, that's about all I got. So, like I said, like and subscribe. Tell your friends about us, and we will see you guys next week. Same time, same place. Thank you, Simon.
See you later.